Then when the game happens, I think they were saying it was like 80-20 Indiana,
Yeah.
and so yeah, man. And Oregon, and it's disappointing because they don't have a history like that to skip playoff games. It's not like, you're Alabama where you've won 6 national championships and, you've traveled to 6 of them and you spent thousands of dollars and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to go to number 7. I just don't see why they didn't, really travel and support the team like that. So when you tell me that about basketball, I believe you, man, because I just saw it in football. It was very disappointing, that show up here in Atlanta for that playoff game.
Right. Absolutely. Well, hey, look, we are about 10, or under 10 minutes from being an hour here. And so before we go, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. First, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Then I'm going to make some announcements that you're going to be like, okay. So, dude, it's never too early. But who's your way too early picks, man? For okay, let's do this. Way too early picks for SEC champion and then national champion.
Okay. Well, we'll see, man. Of course, I always give hope, to Alabama. I believe in what the board did, there at Washington, and you know, I don't know how his style is gonna, it still remains to be seen. But we talked about this earlier. Alabama's grade in the portal, at least for one of those sources, sucked. But with that being said, me loosely looking at it, they addressed the needs, which was the O line. And, those guys are not sexy picks. They're not, high star picks, whether it's high school version or, portal version. And so, I think he did what he needs to do, which was address the needs, which is for sure the offensive line. But they got enough talent there, man, which came through the high school ranks. And so we'll see how that turns out. Of course, everybody loves to bury Bama, man, but I don't think they're dead. Okay, but I also, Kiffin fan, man, and I think he's going to make an immediate splash. There at LSU, Ole Miss. I think people are showing too much faith in them, man. I'm not a Golden fan. He was a defensive coordinator at Alabama, and nah, man. And so Georgia looks like they've taken a step back. They're vulnerable. So to be honest, I don't know. But overall, unfortunately, man, I got to go with Ohio State, because they're raiding Bama and they're getting Alabama players. You already had our quarterback and you had, the safety there, Caleb Downs. Now they got a couple of, defensive studs from Bama. And, honestly, man, their schedules is lighter.
Yep.
You just got to win a couple of games there. And so because of those reasons, I think that they'll be there. I think that they really feel like, despite the fact that they lost to them twice, that they were the best team in the nation. And so we'll see, man. We'll see how it turns out. So, Ohio State is my early pick.
That's my. I had to agree. I agree with you on that. That's what I got right here on my paper right here. Ohio State, their depth is crazy. They've been poaching from other teams like here, like Alabama,
Mhm.
and they're a brand, so they can pick and choose the best players. All they got to do is pick up that phone, and the players automatically, interested in coming. Alabama's that way, Georgia's that way, LSU is now that way. Which is they've always been that way, but now it's really with Kiffin there. I think for the SEC, and people don't realize, but Georgia was a young team. Like
Mhm.
they wasn't full of they're still a young team. Kirby had some need to develop some of those players, and they did over the year. When it comes to SEC, I think LSU is going to make it interesting. But I like Georgia for SEC champion there right now. I'm curious to see what Florida's going to do. They're going to get some dogs, hopefully, and make them relevant again. And I think 2 years from now you're really going to see. I think 2 years from now, not this season but next season, it's going to be really hard to pick an SEC champion because there's going to be some good teams, good coaches that are all going to be equally matched, I think, with players there. And so this year I have to go. I think Georgia, but then I got Texas A&M. I don't know. Just Texas don't seem to be able to get over the hump. I think Texas, it would be my second choice right there. I think.
Right. They got some pieces, man.
Oh,
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, like I always say, follow the money, man. Like I said, I work
Right.
for the government, and when we were shut down, people was like, well, when's it gonna end? But man, there was bets out there for when the shutdown was gonna end, and right off the bat, it was like at least a month and a half. And sure enough, that happened. And so, right now, I think Ohio State has a lot of money on them. I think, people are showing faith in Notre Dame, just strictly that they pissed the fit this year, about not making the playoffs. And then, but they're going to have a favorable schedule next year. And, this might sound funny, man, but Penn State, they were just mismanaged very badly, by Franklin. But man, they had a lot of pieces there. I know their quarterback, I think got hurt or whatever. But if they have anybody competent at the helm at all, man, they'll be there. And so we'll see. But right now the money is supporting Ohio State.
All right, that's my pick too.